Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hammer Museum. I'm Claudia Bester, the Director of Public Programs here at the Hammer, and I am very, very psyched for tonight's literary deathmatch. Woo! So happy to be back in person. We did an amazing literary deathmatch on Zoom that was mind-blowing, and I highly recommend checking it out, but in person's way better. I want to quickly invite you to come back to the museum. For those of you who are visiting the Hammer maybe for the first time, you might not be aware that we offer more than 200 free programs a year, and those range from fun events like tonight to conversations, lectures, concerts, film screenings, poetry readings, political discussions, workshops, and more. In fact, we have a poetry reading coming up this Thursday by the distinguished poet Harriet Mullen, and another reading in November by poet Angie Malenko. So please come back this Thursday if you'd like to enjoy hearing some beautiful and quite funny poetry read out loud, which is the way poetry should be read, in my opinion. We also have free admission to all our exhibitions, and right now we have 3 really mind-blowing exhibitions up, and one that I think would be especially appealing to you literary types. It's an exhibition curated by the New Yorker writer Hilton Als about the writer Joan Didion. We also have a very special exhibition of small works by Picasso on paper, which is quite exquisite and very rare. The museum galleries are open every day except Mondays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., so I hope you'll come back and see those shows. Hopefully you got a copy of the Hammer calendar on your way in, which has a lot more information. And if you want to sign up to be on our email list, you'll get updates of our exhibitions and programs. So, on to tonight's show. Your MC is the author of the award-nominated novel Collision Theory. He's also the Writers Guild Award-nominated screenwriter of the movie Long Shot, which features Mahershala Ali, one of my favorite actors of all time. And he's the director of the short film Hold Me, Don't Touch Me. But most importantly, he's the host and creator of Literary Deathmatch, which has occurred in 69 cities worldwide. So now, the man that Evelyn Woe's granddaughter called sexy if you like the louche epicene lizard look, it's your host, Mr. Adrian Todd Zuniga!
Hello! I forgot my microphone. Keep going crazy. Keep going crazy. Keep going crazy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adrian Todd Zuniga, and I am thrilled to welcome you to Literary Deathmatch Los Angeles, episode 52 at the Hammer Museum. We are going to have pretty much, I'm going to wait for the music to come down because it's too exciting. Everybody's going to start dancing. We're going to have tonight what is effectively the night of all our lives, and we're going to look back and be like, I'm never going to be in that room with all those same people again. You'll just sort of think of it that way. But we have an incredible lineup tonight. It's just going to be more fun than we've ever had together. But I want to open the night by talking about the great Hans Christian Andersen. Now, yes, we've got one person who's clapping to his children. So Hans Christian Andersen, he wrote The Princess and the Pea. He wrote The Ugly Duckling. He wrote the movie that became. He wrote the. I don't know how to talk about him. I don't know anything about him. So I'm going to look at my notes and go like, oh, yeah. Oh, he wrote The Little Mermaid, small story. And he wrote The Snow Queen, which became the movie Frozen. Pretty incredible guy. So effectively a beloved mega author. Thing is, he was also kind of a weirdo. So one of the ways in which he was a weirdo was that he was obsessed with death. I mean, I get it. As a writer, that's 90% of my personality. But for him, he took it to a whole different level. To give you an example, he used to travel with a suitcase full of rope so that when he was in a hotel, he could climb out of the window in case it caught fire. So that's a very high level of anxiety on that front. Also, he feared being buried alive, and he would sleep with a note pinned to his chest that said, "I'm only sleeping." Like, who were his friends that were like, Hans hasn't moved for 30 minutes. Grab the shovels, we're putting him in the ground. I mean, it's pretty weird, but, maybe he didn't have the best friends. And I will say that Hans Christian Andersen wasn't the most typical looking person, and this is coming, I guess I shouldn't really be speaking as someone who looks like Steve Buscemi and Shelley Duvall's love child with Tilda Swinton's haircut. I understand that I'm not talking from a position of power here, but he had a friend of his, these are his great friends again, said that he had a nose like a cannon and pea green eyes. That's P with an A. Like that softens the blow very much, but I guess a little bit. And then another friend of his, these great friends who were trying to bury him, said that he resembled a camel walking into the room. And then it's sort of sad. I mean, not that those are great things. But The Ugly Duckling was heavily autobiographical. And just to give you a vision, like I didn't want to put a picture up because I want you to focus. And it's a literary event, so we're going to imagine. But to get a sense of what he looks like, and you can Google this and confirm it, he looked like Steve Coogan had Nicolas Cage's baby birthed out of Frank Langella's penis. And I know that sounds vulgar, but when you see the picture, you'd be like, wholly accurate. That totally reads. But the thing about his fairy tales that were so incredible was that he broke the cultural norm by having children teach adults valuable life lessons rather than the other way around. And that was very empowering for kids, right? But he also broke another cultural norm because he kept meticulous notes in a notebook of his sexual encounters, which only throughout his life apparently occurred with himself. I'd never heard of a jerk journal before, and I just thought I should tell you guys about it. I'm sorry I'm being so vulgar about Hans. Finally, the last thing I want to tell you about him, and then we're going to get on with this show. From a young age, fame drove him. And at age 14, he left the small town of Odense in Denmark, and he traveled to the mean streets of Copenhagen. And he said, and I quote, it was to become famous. And he wanted to be an actor, a dancer, or a singer, but he lacked the talent, the grace, or the voice. And a mega author was born, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so enough out of me. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the show, then we're gonna start it. It's already started, but a little history about Literary Deathmatch. This is the 529th show we've ever done. Hopefully we get to the end. Thank you very much. Colossal, over 16 years. That's absurd. We're now in 69 cities around the world, and here's how it's gonna work. We have 4 incredible authors that are gonna read from their own work for 5 minutes or less. We're gonna have 2 readers in the first round, 2 readers in the second round. And then after the 2 readers read, they're going to be judged by 3 all-star judges in the categories of literary merit, performance, and intangibles. What does that mean? We don't know. And they're going to say some lovely, strange things about each of the writers in round 1. Pick 1 to go to the finals. Same thing in round 2 with the 2 different writers. Pick 1 of those to go to the finals. And then those 2 will compete in a vaguely literary game to decide who will be the Literary Deathmatch champion. And you're asking yourself, you're also asking yourself, what do they win? And there is this engraved medal in my pocket that is worth $7. And that's it. Also, what they win, literary immortality. So the stakes could not be higher, quite frankly. And if, like I said, the description of the show, if you didn't understand it, Michael C. Hall of Dexter fame, he referred to this show as a highbrow, lowbrow literary game show clusterfuck. So that's effectively what you're going to see. But at the end, it will make sense, and you will be overjoyed, and you'll be thrilled that you came out tonight. And you can follow us. I've been doing TikToks of stupid literary facts every day. So if you like those Hans Christian Andersen facts, I know 7 of you did, then follow along at Adrian Todd Zuniga. All right, it is time now to introduce our judges. Now, I'm about to read the longest bio of a judge in Literary Deathmatch history, but I was just so astonished by the fact that this person has won every single award. I was just like, let's go for it. So anyway, he's in the wings and now embarrassed. But let's find out how embarrassed. Judging literary merit. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist of The Sympathizer, who also won the Dayton Literary Peace Prize, the Edgar Award, the Carnegie Medal for Excellence, the First Novel Prize, a gold medal in first fiction from the California Book Awards, the Asian Pacific American Literature Award, and HBO is turning The Sympathizer into a TV series in 2023, directed by the amazing Park Chan-wook. That's right, it's Viet Thanh Nguyen! Viet Thanh Nguyen! Thank you for being here, Viet. There we go. So thrilled you're here. And judging performance. She's a Pulitzer Prize finalist in drama, a performance artist, comedian, writer, and the dazzling mind behind Kristina Wong, Sweatshop Overlord, and Kristina Wong for Public Office, which won this year's Drama Desk Lordle Award and the Outer Critics Circle Awards for Best Solo Performance. That's right, it's Kristina Wong! Kristina Wong! Thank you for being here, Kristina. Oh, right, the microphone. And judging intangibles, he's a comedian, TV writer, YouTube brillianteur, host, and author of If at Birth You Don't Succeed. Give it up for Zach Anner! Zach Anner! You're over there, Zach. You're right next to Kristina. I know, you blew it.
I fucked it up.
But you get more music, more of a musical intro. We'll take your time, Zach. You good? Okay.
I'm good.
We're good. All right. Now, I'm going to ask each of these judges a quick question just so we can get to know them better before the show really starts and we bring out our first two readers. So I'll start with you, Viet. Joan Didion was an amazing cook, and many of her recipes were written by hand. Her most audacious recipe was for, and I quote, a parsley salad to feed 35 to 40. So, as an award-winning author yourself, what's the wildest thing you've cooked and how many does it feed?
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to talk about Olivia Wilde's salad dressing. That would have been really cool. The craziest, in France, I made a French dish, which I thought was pretty daring. Coq au vin.
Coq au vin?
Coq au vin. Right.
How was it?
I thought it was excellent, but who knows? I mean, I only served it to Americans. I didn't dare serve it to the French.
Right.
Yeah.
How many did it feed?
Well, just like 4 or 5 people.
Oh, man, not 35 or 40. Okay, that's fine. Give it up for Viet! Kristina, when Alice Walker was 8 years old, she was accidentally shot in the eye by her brother with a BB gun. Blinded in one eye, her mother gave her a typewriter and allowed her to write instead of doing her chores. So I wondered, as a generally brilliant person yourself, what's your origin story?
I didn't have access to a therapist, and so I make all these people in the audience pay to watch me.
That sounds like a great reason. Get up for Kristina! Zach, Jorge Luis Borges once described Barcelona, a city universally beloved, for being, quote, filthy, rectangular, strident, ugly, and vulgar. So I wonder, are there any cities you have a bone to pick with, and what 3 Borgesian adjectives would you use to describe it?
A city I have a bone to pick with. Well, honestly, I'm not a big fan of Los Angeles.
Oh.
I just wanted to have the whole crowd turn on me right away. I actually love this place. I love the smog. I love the traffic. The fires are great. You guys are really killing it.
Give it up for Zach Anner with Intangibles. Okay. And now I'm going to bring out our first 2 readers of the night. In round 1, she's the author of Fiona and Jane, and her writing appears in the New York Times Magazine, The Cut, Electric Literature, LA Times, Georgia Review, GQ, Harper's Bazaar, and Guernica. That's right, it's Jean Chen Ho! Jean Chen Ho! Thank you for being here, Jean. And her opponent. He's author of My Government Means to Kill Me, executive producer of Bel Air on Peacock. He's also written, produced The Shy and Narcos. Go crazy for Rasheed Newson! Rasheed Newson. So to decide who goes first, we do a coin flip. Rasheed, for absolutely no reason, I'm going to have you call the coin flip in the air. So I'm going to say 2 literary facts. I'm going to flip this metal coin for those not watching at home. And then you tell me which one you think will be heads. Tennessee Williams once got so drunk that he showed up for a literary event in Minneapolis when he was supposed to be in Indianapolis. And one night, Elmore Leonard came home wildly drunk, and his wife said, "Your problem is you don't count your drinks." And he said, "Yes, I do. I had 15. I like that you waited for it to drop, and that worked to your favor. Rasheed, would you like to go first or second? You've won the coin flip. a little gamesmanship, a little like, hey, how are we gonna do this? And now he's going first. Ladies and gentlemen, for 5 minutes or less, it's Rasheed Newson!
Good evening. I'm what you call a black homosexual, in case you were wondering or interested. I'm reading from my book, My Government Means to Kill Me, where the lead character is a black, fey homosexual. And this is about when he takes a summer job cutting grass and he receives some unexpected benefits. While my mind wandered as I worked, my body hardened. Calluses formed on my fingers and palms from gripping and pushing the lawnmower for hours on end. Overexposure to the sun naturally darkened my complexion, but also quite surprisingly, dyed some of my black hair reddish gold. My physique, which had always been unremarkably skinny, took on muscle tone and bulk. I didn't notice until several weeks after I started cutting grass at the cemetery. I was walking around shirtless in my apartment and my roommate Gregory awed over the definition in my back, pecs, and arms. He wasn't the only guy to admire the changes in my appearance. Being more muscular flipped the script when it came to who was pursuing me. Riding the subway home from Queens, I found myself appealing to a new audience. Overt bottoms were daring to lick their lips and eye fuck me. This reversal in the gay natural order, as I knew it, amused me. Before my transfiguration, these very same young men would cut their eyes at me as we crossed paths in gay bars and clubs. Like types must be fast friends or rivals, and rivalry tends to be the default. But as I clung to the subway rail in the evenings, my body tanned, sweaty, and ripped, I appeared butch. Up was down, black was white. This realignment presented an erotic challenge. Given what I've revealed about myself so far, it probably comes as no surprise that throughout my sex life, I had served exclusively as a bottom. I had no complaints about my role. Getting penetrated made me hard. The idea of having to top gave me performance anxiety. Yet curiosity, easy targets, and the summer heat led me to wonder what it would be like to take on a new position. I asked Gregory for tips about how to top, and I'll never forget his sage advice. Just fuck like you own the ass in front of you and you can't go wrong. I pretended as if I understood what that meant. The first few young guys that I picked up riding the subway were subjected to my clueless fumbling and embarrassing failures. More than once, my cock refused to get hard enough to do the deed. Another time, I hit the mark with no finesse and promptly came before I reached full insertion. The bottoms that I disappointed weren't sensitive to my plight. They complained bitterly, insulting me, my manhood, and my mama. One beautiful Mexican bottom slapped me across the face. My luck changed when I followed a white, curly-haired punk rocker back to his apartment. His name was Frank or Hank. His curls hid a forehead dotted with zits. He wore too much cologne. His body was skin and bones, and he wasn't much of a talker. But he had a silent confidence, and he had a wide mouth with full lips, and he liked kissing. And he led me by the hand into his bedroom, where he cleared the dirty clothes off his mattress and pushed me onto my back. Frank Hank moved with quick efficiency that left me no time to think, no time to worry. We were making out. He took off my clothes. He undressed himself. He blew me. He fitted me with a condom, and he was riding my cock. I was in heaven. Frank Hank mumbled instructions, and I learned the fundamentals of topping. We parted ways without exchanging phone numbers. The very next day, I searched for him on the subway. Days passed, and I didn't see him. I went back to the neighborhood where he lived, and I wandered the streets, hoping to recognize his apartment building or bump into him. I wanted to fuck again, and to thank him.
Give it up for Rasheed Newson, coming in at 4 minutes and 1 second. And now his opponent. Put your hands together for Chen Ho.
Hi. Wow, I didn't realize you were going to announce the time that we took up. Hi. I'm going to read from Fiona and Jane, my story collection that came out earlier this year. And it's a book about two best friends and 20 years of their friendship. and it's told in alternating stories. So some stories are from the point of view of Fiona, and some are from Jane. And I'm going to read from a section from the story called The Movers. It's from Jane's point of view. I didn't think much of him when I first met Aaron, though I didn't say so to Fiona, of course. His dad was Malaysian, but Aaron went by his British mom's last name for auditions. He said Aaron Johnson sounded more like a leading man than Aaron Liu. A pretty boy with dimples in both cheeks, he would often talk about big-time celebrities like they were close personal friends of his. One of Aaron's favorite stories to tell involved fist-bumping LL Cool J on the set of NCIS Los Angeles, the time he booked Dead Asian Gangster #2. I was wary of how quickly things advanced with Fiona and Aaron. They moved in together only after a month of dating, married 6 months later. But who was I to dispute Cupid's arrow? That was how she talked in those days, like Aaron was fated into her life. Maybe I was just hating because I felt abandoned by my best friend, so soon after she moved back to LA. She'd met him at work. Aaron was their part-time receptionist, a job that allowed him flexibility to dip out for castings. He became her work husband fast, and it was totally platonic at first. She'd been through it in New York, she said, her entire 20s spent on losers and weirdos who wasted her time and worse. The last one stole money from her. Fiona had said she was swearing off men. She was living with her mother anyway, which made dating impossible. Then Aaron happened. After he and Fiona were married for a year or so, I guess I started to accept him. When he wasn't prepping his sides and I wasn't showing vacancies or dealing with repairs, we would meet up for happy hour, killing time before Fiona clocked out. He was surprisingly easy to talk to, warm and charismatic in a way I didn't expect. When Fiona had first told me she was dating an actor, I'd thought, oh no. Any actors in the room? Sorry. But hanging with Aaron, I came to admire his ability for taking rejection day in and day out, his unflagging resolve to keep chasing his art. One time, he and I got to analyzing my bedroom issues with Ed, the guy I was seeing. We were sitting in a booth in a naval-themed dive in Koreatown, the walls adorned with yellowing paintings of schooners and battleships, the bar lit up by Christmas lights and silver tinsel in July. Ed wasn't his real name, just what I called him behind his back because of the erectile dysfunction. Is it something that just kind of happens, I asked. Is it normal in your 30s? Whiskey dick, Aaron said. I told him Ed didn't drink. He asked if it happened every time, and I didn't answer. Jane, he said, seriously? I mean, we do other stuff. Aaron said, I never understood why you two, I don't see it, you and him. And then he said Ed's real name. I thought you liked chicks anyway. What's so special about this guy? I hesitated a moment. He writes me poems, I said, knowing how corny that must have sounded. Roses are red, violets are blue, that sort of crap. No one's ever done something like that for me, I said. Ed had books stacked on his nightstand, brick-thick tomes of Celine and Sartre, thin spines of poetry by writers with only initials for first names. I picked one up on a morning after he left for work. The margins were scribbled with notes in his slanting handwriting. I didn't understand the poetry. It seemed worlds apart from those haikus on yellow stickies he'd leave in my pockets. And trying to decipher his cursive in the margins felt wrong, like reading his diary. Poems, Aaron said. Huh. I didn't think you were into stuff like that. Shut up, I said. But if he can't get it up, Aaron said, why? You think sex is only about that? Man, I said, I feel sorry for Fiona. Why even date a dude if he can't, He put his elbows on the table and rested his chin in his hands. I'm asking honestly, Jane. Listen, I got a drawer full of dicks. Aaron leaned back in the booth, put his hands in the air in a sign of defeat. You asked, I said, so I'm telling you. That's not why Then why? I shook my head. Don't say fucking poems, Aaron said. Poems? Come on. There is something, I said slowly, about being with someone Chinese. I hesitated. It's not everything, but I don't know. There's a secret understanding, maybe. I wondered if saying this out loud sounded even cornier than what I told him about Ed's poetry. He nodded. Fiona is very happy with me bedroom-wise, he added. I'm sure she's told you. I have a huge... Okay, dude, I said. You can shut up now for real. I was laughing. We both were. The waitress came by and we ordered another round. When she brought the drink, she said we made a beautiful couple. And that started us laughing all over again. Thank you.
Give it up for Jane Chen Ho, coming in at 5 minutes and 33 seconds. I'm sorry, 5 minutes and 17 seconds. I started the timer earlier. I'm just going to move this for fun, for giggles. All right, and now we're going to go to our judges, who are first going to speak about Rasheed's literary merit. Take it away, Viet.
Well, I'm so thankful to be here on the stage with such magnificent literary talent with Rasheed and Jean. Woo! Yeah. Honestly, I didn't anticipate this to be an R-rated evening. Lots of sex education, sex tourism of all kinds. Certainly hit the levels of the low and the high, perhaps. We'll start with Rasheed. You know, I mean, when I started listening to Rasheed, I was instantly captured by the scenes that were being drawn. And of course, my first thoughts when you started to talk about these muscular bodies, sweaty and sculpted. My first thoughts were Jane Austen, honestly. Yes, this would be, if Jane Austen was black and queer and living in New York today, this might be what she would be writing, honestly. And then cutting grass. Cutting grass. Well, Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, immediately came to mind. I don't know how many of you thought about Walt Whitman, but I thought Walt Whitman, I Sing America, singing the body beautiful, singing the body electric was absolutely there. Also, I thought, well, as we started to get into this scene of men loving men and just being unrepentantly, unapologetically queer, I thought about an antecedent, really, which was Hubert Selby's Last Exit to Brooklyn, which, in fact, part of it is about sexual repression and the terrible costs of that. And, you know, now we don't, in this novel, we have the reverse. We have the celebration and the possibility of just the erotic opening, it's not a pun, that we're seeing here. And then, you know, I also saw Shakespeare. I mean, Shakespeare romantic comedies, you know, you have the conflicts, you have the obstacles, but in the end, hopefully, I haven't read the novel, but hopefully in the end, there is some kind of marital bliss or some relationship bliss or open relationships, who knows? But I think there's some Shakespeare in there as well. And then finally, all the fucking that's going on. Let me see, this is a very memorable quote. Just fuck like you own the ass in front of you. I'll never forget that. I'm gonna go home and quote that and see how far that gets me. But I thought about Ocean Vuong. Ocean Vuong, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. There's the central word, I think, in Ocean Vuong's novel is fuck. In fact, I gave a talk at the Modern Language Association, very stuffy audience, not like this at all. And my ambition was to give a talk at the Modern Language Association where the most fucks ever given were given by me personally. And it was easy because I was just quoting Ocean. There's a passage in Ocean where he talks about how I got fucked up, I got fucked in the ass, I got fucked up. And I'm paraphrasing, it's much more poetic, but I was getting fucked up by choice. And that made all the difference. And so I think this novel and Rasheed and what he was reading fits into this long and glorious lineage from Jane Austen through Walt Whitman and Shakespeare to Ocean Vuong.
Thank you very much, Viet Thanh Nguyen with literary merit. And now over to Kristina for Rasheed's performance.
So much of what we just witnessed here in performance, I feel like if you were to close caption, I'd seen this independent film on Pornhub, and it felt like I was reading those closed captions and really able, through this delivery, to absorb just the text itself, you know? I have so much appreciation when you come out, we read you immediately as these characters and you're embodying so much at the same time. I was seeing Harry Potter, I was seeing Castro on Halloween, I was seeing Scottish Soldier, prep school. The ways you said the words cock, bottom, hard, slap, bloomy, fuck, it was like you might as well have said whole milk, butter, chickpeas, tomato sauce. You give it a certain dignity. And I feel like that dignity is really all we have left, to return us around in that delivery and just be so crisp and clear. And really, I almost was like, am I, at a knighting ceremony with the late Queen Elizabeth, like you could, you should be the next queen. That's really what I said. You have a real theatrical talent. But that's really what I felt was like you were both the bottom and the top. You were all the paradox that is this world, right? All in one. I mean, are we a bottom? Are we a top? I don't know. But I felt confused with you in that moment.
Thank you very much, Kristina Wong with performance. And now we go over to Zach Anner for Rasheed's Intangibles.
Rasheed, you introduced yourself as a black homosexual, so I'd like to introduce myself as a white disabled. And I just got to say that I thought it was beautiful. I think fucking like you own the ass in front of you. They say that sexual, like sexuality is a spectrum, and even though I'm straight, you have definitely pushed me towards the gayer side of that spectrum, just by the quality of your writing. And I know that you came in at 4 minutes and 1 second, which I thought was ironic because the story was about learning to last longer. And I just thought you did an amazing job. I thought it was beautiful. And I guess I'm learning that I'm probably a bottom. So I have a lot of work to do after I get off this stage. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Thank you very much, Zach Anner with Intangibles. And now we go back to Viet to hear about Gene's literary merit.
All right, Gene Chen Ho. Okay, first, full disclosure, I am Gene Chen Ho's professor and a part of her dissertation committee, but I can be absolutely impartial in this decision. Okay, so we're both Asian Americans, and at a certain point in Asian American literary history, you could not have done this contest without saying Gene Chen Ho's Fiona and Jane reminds me of Amy Tan's The Joy Luck Club. But we're way beyond that at this point. It reminds me of so many other things besides The Joy Luck Club, and that's a great thing, right? Which is not to take away from The Joy Luck Club. I mean, The Joy Luck Club was the first Asian American novel I ever read, changed my life. But now we have Gene Chen Ho and Fiona and Jane. And as you started talking about the celebrities and the LA lifestyle, it reminded me of a novel that I also read when I was a kid, when I was about 16 or so, Bret Easton Ellis's Less Than Zero. The difference, however, is Bret Easton Ellis's Less Than Zero was cocaine white. And here, instead, we have the Asian American Greater LA that spans everything from Hollywood to the San Gabriel Valley and Cerritos. And then you started talking about things like Dead Asian Gangster #2. And that immediately brought to mind Charles Yu's Interior Chinatown, which is the novel. If you haven't read the novel, then you really you shouldn't live in this city. You don't deserve to live in the city. You don't deserve to work in Hollywood. But it's all about being the dead Asian gangster #2 when you're the Asian male actor in Hollywood. So I think Gene is referencing all of these landmarks of Los Angeles and Hollywood and the cultural life that we as Asian Americans know. So when she talked about Ed, who stood in for erectile dysfunction, unfortunately, I thought of the novelist Ed Park. Don't tell him I said this, but Ed Park, novelist of Personal Days, which also, besides, I don't know if Ed stands for erectile dysfunction for Ed Park, but it is a novel that is about urban alienation and dysfunction in its own way. So we have that same kind of tone taking place. And then finally, not finally, penultimately, do you know the meaning of that word, penultimately? Yes, English majors. Penultimately means next to last. We are here at the Hammer Museum with a whole exhibit dedicated to Joan Didion.
That's right.
And I couldn't help but think about, White Album, but here specifically Play It As It Lays, one of the great LA novels, which is also about alienation and sexual dysfunction and sexual angst and all of that. But finally, one of the great lines of LA literature. I've got a drawer full of dicks. recalled for me that great classic of erotic literature, Erica Jong's Fear of Flying. So it's another generation, right? This was like 1974, I think, when Fear of Flying came out, and I read it because my brother had it. That's a whole other story. But Fear of Flying had another great line, the zipless fuck. And I feel like this novel participates in this very noble lineage of the zipless fuck.
Thank you very much, Viet, with Literary Merit. And now back to Kristina for performance.
I had a lot of appreciation for the minimalism in your gestures on the stage, and it was sort of this. You sort of gave it this attitude like I'm here, I don't care, but it was embodying it. But to me, it really was reminiscent of this incredible television program a little over 10 years ago, Rock of Love, with Bret Michaels on VH1. There was a contestant eliminated in the first episode, Raven, who has a YouTube channel where she talks about living in her car now. But that sort of like can't care, don't care. But with like a little bit touch of, if you're watching A Bachelor in Paradise, some of those early eliminated women from that episode, I saw a lot of that. I did notice, I appreciated this moment where you sort of broke the fourth wall and turned back when you said erectile dysfunction. You specifically looked at Rasheed. Specifically looked, and it was this moment, it was like a Marina Abramovic moment of like, are we here in a reading? Are we in a piece? Is this a duet? Is this real life? Is this a performance? So I so much happened in that moment of connection, and it was like you were crossing genre, like literally in that moment by making eye contact, specifically looking at Rasheed saying erectile dysfunction. You also gave yourself a laugh, drainfuls of dicks? What's that word? Drawerful of dicks. Drawerful of dicks. You laughed at yourself when no one else would. And I sort of appreciate that sense of self-love. It's very clear that you watched The Secret in 2006 and you won't allow manifest laughs by laughing for myself. So appreciate that.
Kristina with performance. And now back to Zach for Genes and Changeables.
I think one of the things that was beautiful about this is just hearing these stories back to back. It shows me that no matter what we've experienced, no matter what our cultural differences are, where we've come from, floppy dicks are universal. It's a universal theme, and I just have to applaud you, because as soon as you mentioned meeting LL Cool J, I couldn't help but think, as you were reading the rest of the piece, deeper, bluer, my head is like a shark's fin from Deep Blue Sea, the wonderful theme, and that sort of gave it a rhythm for me, because I love that song. It's a classic movie. I know we're more on the literary side. I don't have as many authors to cite as Viet. And it also gives me an idea of, I'm the intangible judge, so I'm the white guy who judges the people of color on whatever he chooses, which is apt, I guess. But I thought it was beautiful. It was funny, and I think I've only got one dick, and I've only put it in a drawer once, and I won't do it again, because it's painful. But thank you so much for both of your beautiful stories, and making me realize that I need to live more.
Thank you very much, Zach Anner with Intangibles. Now we're gonna shut down all the mics of the judges, and then they're gonna huddle amongst themselves and decide who will be the night's first finalist. An impossible decision that they'll have to make. And while they discuss, let me first say, give it up one more time for Rasheed and Jean. Holy wow! Thank you so much. Incredible. So it's voting season is coming up. I obviously encourage you all to vote. You're all at the Hammer Museum for Literary Deathmatch. You're going to vote, and I know who you're going to vote for. So thank you in advance. But make sure you tell everybody else you know to vote, like the one friend that accidentally got stuck in Alabama and all that stuff. And I just wanted to talk about one of the greatest author activists in the history of America, and also one of the most badass Americans, and that's Maya Angelou, the author of I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Now, usually I try to build jokes and I try to say things, but I'm literally just going to list a bunch of stuff about her very quickly, and it's just going to blow your mind. She was a force of nature. So, as a teenager, she won a scholarship to study dance and drama at San Francisco's labor school, but dropped out to become the city's first African-American female cable car conductor. Side note, on the first day of her work, she's driving along in the cable car, and her mom is driving alongside in a car with a gun on the seat. I think we know why. Anyway, she mastered 5 foreign languages: French, Spanish, Italian, Arabic, and the West African language Fanti. She was a guest star on an episode of Sesame Street, which is every author's secret dream. She had her own line of Hallmark greeting cards. She published 2 cookbooks. She was the first Black woman director and producer for 20th Century Fox. She recorded a song with Common. She was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. She won 3 Grammys for Best Spoken Word, was nominated for a Tony, was nominated for an Emmy for the TV show Roots. And when she met Tupac Shakur on the set of the film Poetic Justice, he was so moved just to be in her presence, he started to cry. She had no idea who he was. She's so weird. Also, she was the second poet to read at a presidential inauguration, Robert Frost being the first. And so that's just a reminder to vote, and make sure you tell everybody about Maya Angelou. She's an unbelievable woman. Okay, now we're gonna go to the give it up for whatever. I don't know, I just felt like it was an applause moment. Okay, Kristina is holding on to the mic, so they're about to announce the night's first finalist. If everybody in the audience could hold hands, I'm now gonna shush.
This is really hard here. So we'll talk through our logic in this. What I did appreciate about Rasheed, so many sex words: cock, bottom, hard, bloomy, bottom. But then Jean comes in and she's just throwing around penis words like nobody's business, and they're both just so well dressed today, so well presented today. I mean, we were sort of thinking, well, Jean, the sort of bonus is we don't get to hear about Asian penises a lot, and maybe this is our racial bias that Viet and I bring to this. But it's erectile dysfunction, so she's actually bringing down the people, right? So we don't know, right? And then Zach was just judging us the whole time.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Rasheed, it's not cardigan weather, but I really appreciate you rocking it, because, it's like 90 degrees out, and you're like, this is the look.
Yeah.
So that was big for me.
So we're what's it called? A tie. It's tie, but we have a tiebreaker. We can figure it out very quickly, and Zach's gonna.
Yeah. So whoever can come up with the sexiest adjective and give us all the vapors, like a Southern belle fainting with a fan, like that's the winner, because you both brought us to our knees, right? Like,
Heyo. So the thing about Literary Deathmatch that I was going to tell them in the I was like, it can't be tied because there are 3 of you and you all have a vote. And I like what they're doing here. So I'm going to go to Rasheed and I'm going to ask him, what's the sexiest adjective?
Delectable.
Oh, shit.
ooh, oh.
And now, over to Jean.
Slut.
Whoa!
Oh, wow.
You all have 1 vote.
One of those is an adjective and one of those is not.
Performance judge is going to make a literary judgment.
Yeah.
Not true.
Wait.
Yeah, I think slutty.
Slutty.
Uh-oh.
You said slut.
Oh, God. Kristina? Usually it would be slutty, which I agree with, but I don't want to. I'm not gonna.
Well, I mean, my visceral response was, "Ooh, that works for me," But it overcame my literary sensibilities. The professor in me didn't even know that it was a noun.
Is this me adapting to white supremacy, saying that it's because
you're
it
asking
wasn't
for-
slutty?
Yes, conform.
That it's
that's,
not Is this conformist use of language?
That's kind of pedantic to
Zach,
use another big word.
you're the deal. You're the.
I'm Switzerland because I'm the white. So.
Are we tied again? Do we need another adjective?
Oh, no. I think we should choose. I think we should choose.
No. There's,
But they're agonizing.
yeah.
I just thought it
There's,
was the sexiest word. I wasn't listening clearly.
I understand. I stand by both your choices.
Okay, so we've decided that slut is the more transgressive choice.
Give it
And
up.
Dean will be the winner of this round.
Give it up for Chen Ho, your first round winner. And one more time for Rasheed Newson, who is incredible. All right, we're going to have you both wander off the stage and give it up as they walk across the stage. What fantastic work.
That was awesome. That was wonderful.
I'm going to put this back. And now, without further ado, we're going to introduce our second round writers. I'll move this just like this, and we'll put, okay, there's a bottle of water that just flew off. In round two, she's author of Isadora and Threats, the winner of the New York Public Library's Young Lion and the Ronald Suknick Innovative Fiction Prize, a finalist for the WGA Award and a Penn Faulkner Award for Fiction. And she's also a writer for TV's Gaslit, Maniac, and Mr. Robot. That's right, it's Amelia Gray! Give it up for Amelia Gray. I told Amelia I was going to have some cool intro music for her, and I think it hit. All right. Her opponent, he's a queer, Jamaican-American freelance journalist, cultural essayist, grassroots organizer, and author of the debut memoir, When They Tell You to Be Good, which was winner of the Hurston Wright Crossover Award, all the way from New York City. Put your hands together for Prince Shakur! Prince Shakur! All right. Thank you for being here, Prince. Amelia, I'm going to have you call the round two coin flip. Truman Capote once said, "It's a scientific fact that if you stay in California, you lose 1 point of your IQ a year." And Ernest Hemingway once met photographer Ansel Adams and said, "You take the most amazing pictures. What kind of camera do you use?" And Adams said, "You write the most amazing stories. What kind of typewriter do you use?" Capote. It is Capote. Congratulations, you've won the coin flip. Would you like to read first or second?
So cordial.
Ladies and gentlemen, for 5 minutes or less, it's Prince Shakur!
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I'm reading an excerpt from my memoir. It's called When They Tell You to Be Good. This is a section where I'm basically imagining a reality where I've met my father, he's alive, and this is kind of me meeting him for the first time and remembering kind of some of my last memories with my best friend, whose name is Javion. I bury my face in my hands and feel the well inside of me overflowing. I know that if I cry now, I may never stop crying. I realize I've arrived at the precipice and peered too far over the edge, so I think of a good moment. Javion and I were sitting in his backyard. His mother, a nurse, had gone away for the weekend to attend a conference in another city. Javion and I had spent the entire day playing video games and eating baked pizza. Even though I was 17 and well aware that so many things were going wrong, I couldn't shake feeling grateful. My best friend was sitting next to me with a blunt between his fingers and laughing as he made shitty jokes about different teachers in our high school. His laughter felt like looking out at the quiet sea. Then Javion peered at me for a long and quiet moment. Finally, I looked back at him. "I've always had a question to ask you," he said, then passed the blunt. "You're nosy as hell anyway, so you might as well ask," I said. Another silence followed. Javion shoved his hands into the pockets of his black hoodie and looked out over the backyard. Then he sighed. "I'm not asking you this because I care what the answer is for real, and I'm not trying to say anything by asking this. Are you bi? Are you gay? I mean," I sat up a little bit more, took a long puff, and tried not to cough as I pushed the marijuana haze outward. The high placed me in my body in a way that I hated. In my mind, I could quantify a million things. I could find an excuse to go to the bathroom, stare at myself in the mirror, come up with a solution. Instead, my body fought me. I stared back at him. "Are you worried about something?" I asked. Come on, he said as his face twisted into a grimace. Shit, you always do this. I'm not mad, I'm not worried, I'm asking you a direct question. Give me the damn blunt. I tried to think of what to say, but the more I thought, the more everything seemed pretty fucking bad. I spoke anyway. Last year was hard, I said. You remember, Ricky got locked up and everyone was acting like they knew him. Daquan and I were so mad about it, then I had to stop short and exhale because every time I started to think about it, my head felt like it was floating away from my body, like someone was grabbing some part of my throat and pulling it towards the sky. I think Daquan and Ricky had something going on. After Ricky went to prison, I was talking to him at a party and he kissed me. I didn't mind. I had thoughts about that kind of a thing, but it wasn't until then I realized I didn't mind. I felt like something good had happened. But, Javion retorted. I looked at him and smiled. But Daquan is a fucking dick, I said back. I couldn't remember when the laughing started and us all rolling around on the floor, catching our stomachs stopped. It was sweat-inducing. It was clumsy, but I felt infinitely loved and seen. When it was over, we sat on the grass after trying to find the remainder of the blunt wherever I dropped it. After finishing it, he looked at me again. But what about the summer, he said. I scoffed and hugged my knees. Fuck, dude. What? Come on, Javion, I said. You can't be trying to know all my secrets at the same time. It's crass. He nudged me in the shoulder and said, I don't know what the fuck that last word means, but it better mean I'm observant, and I noticed when you left last summer, you were acting sketchy as hell. I knew some shit had gone down, but not what. I stared at him again, but for longer this time. I kept noticing all the reasons that he was beautiful. The intended scar beneath his left eye, the way he never tried to avoid eye contact with me, and the soft dip between his eyebrows whenever he was concerned. Javion hated it, but he wore his emotions like skin. I buried my face in my hands and started to sob. It was big, brilliant, and an ugly thing. I could feel his hands on my shoulders. I could hear Javion talking to me, but even through the choked breaths, I tried to tell him. I tried to tell him everything. At the camp last summer, some of the kids were strapped down to the tables, and whenever they do them, you could hear them scream. Sometimes 14, sometimes 19. Some stayed because they thought they needed to. It wasn't hell, it was a kind of hell. It was a reworking of hell. When I was over telling him what I could pull out of myself, he sat in front of me on his knees. A sour look was etched onto his face. And you don't hate Daquan for snitching on you, he said. I just stared back at him and didn't answer. And your mom for sending you there? Part of me feels like it was my mom and my dad, I said. His look turned slow and dark. His father had been dead his entire life, a sort of fact and a sort of wound. I'd never exactly told him that my father was dead, but it didn't help that I'd never clarified when he said things like, Dead Daddy Club is meeting up. For a while, he didn't cry exactly. His face got darker, and then he started to nod profusely. He mumbled a few words before going into the house and returning with the bottle of rum from his mother's stash. He didn't need to say anything else because I could feel the unrestrained love in everything that he did. The way he sat so close to me. The way he put his hand on my shoulder and squeezed the flesh there softly. That night he got drunker and angrier than me, rattling off all the things that we would do in college before grabbing my shoulder again and spitting out the words. I love you. You're my brother. That's when I realized it, that sometimes love means being a vessel for somebody else's pain. Not because love should mean taking on someone else's pain, but rather that love makes certain kinds of pain more bearable and teaches us more than the love, the violence, and the story that birthed us. Love can make us people with wings. Thank you.
Give it up for Prince Shakur, coming in at 6 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm supposed to drop this flask in my pocket, but I was sort of engaged, so my bad. And now the final reader of the night. Put your hands together for Amelia Gray.
Hello. Well, this story clocks in at a hot 2 minutes 30. So I think I'm just going to take my extra time to exercise something that's been keeping me up at night. She loves him. She needs help, man. That's why she'll be back again. Can't find a better man. 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 Okay, thank you guys. That's really serious. I needed that. Just happened at a venue. This story is called "The Swan as Metaphor for Love." A swan's foot, like a duck's, is a webbed claw. In traversing swan shit and mud, these claws naturally gunk up and reek. Nobody in the history of the world, save another swan, has licked a swan's foot while that foot was still attached to the swan. The feet resemble rabid bats in their sickly color and texture. Moving north on the swan's undercarriage, one will find an eroded civilization of swan shit and pond scum. That's a banal phrase, pond scum, one that is easily ignored, but let's look closer. Swans eat grasses, sedges, and pondweed, each teeming with murk. They will also eat insects, snails, and a fresh shrimp if they're near one. Pond scum is more of the same. Swan shit, fish shit, frog shit, half a can of beer from some fuck teenager, plastic, photosynthetic residue, algae, permanent bubble, hexagon patch freed from its soccer ball, arthropod corpse, all attached to the swan in its idiot float through its stagnant little inland sea. Swans eat tadpoles. A swan will slurp up entire schools of larval amphibian, process them and shit them out, and then sometimes it will sit in that shit or walk through it, and here we are. Anyone who claims that a swan is a majestic and noble creature has never seen a swan up close. Swans will attack you if you are nearing their young or their nest, if you are trying to have a conversation with their mate. They have jagged points on their beaks, which resemble teeth but more closely resemble a plumber's saw, which plumbers call a tiny Tim. If you try to take a swan's picture, he will strike at you with his beak. Too much intention enrages a swan. The swan has a long neck and will strike at you. The swan will bite you and tear your flesh. Swans mate for life, which is maybe 10 or 15 years. Seriously, someone found a swan once that was 24 years old, and probably it was mating for life, which everyone made a big deal out of, even though the swan was not even old enough to rent a car. The swan wasn't yet acquainted with life enough to silently hyperventilate in its bed. The swan didn't even have a bed. The swan was too stupid to have a bed, and if it did, it would have filled it with swan shit. That's all for today about swans. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amelia Gray, coming in at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And now we're going to return to our judges. We're going to start with Viet speaking about Prince's literary merit.
Honestly, this was a much more difficult round because there weren't as many fucks and, flaccid dicks. So now I have to be smarter on this one. But I was actually really touched by both performances, because I think they were both getting at sort of human truths and human realities. So let's start with Prince. You're writing a memoir. I'm writing a memoir too. So I was immediately connecting to that experience. And I think it's really tough to write a memoir. I mean, I think it takes a lot of either courage or incredible vanity. I don't know which one it is in your case, but it's incredible vanity on my part. And there is so much in this excerpt that we heard about memory and remembering, and the texture of the prose recalled for me someone who maybe many of you have not read, but I love W.G. Sebald, who is like one of the preeminent writers about memory and going down this long and contorted path towards the past. And the rhythms of the prose reminded me also of Open City, Teju Cole's book, which is also another book about going down the road to the past as well. And then this is an excerpt about adolescent or younger teen relations and the difficulty of communication and trying to find out more about each other, but also about themselves. And I was brought back to, for me, one of the preeminent adolescent novels of my generation, S.E. Hinton's The Outsiders, as well. These felt like two outsiders who were trying to connect in this story. And Catcher in the Rye is part of this tradition too. I want to cite a lot of books that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but this as they're struggling with who they are and what they did during the summer, I thought about John Knoll's forgotten classic, A Separate Peace, which is also about suppressed queerness and the struggle between two young men trying to figure out who they are. And then finally, this line is a beautiful line that you ended with. Love can make us people with wings. And the entire trajectory of the story in this setting of two young men trying to figure this relationship out. I thought a lot about James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room as well. And that's a great genealogy to find yourself in.
Thank you very much, Viet. With Literary Mare. Now over to Kristina for performance for Prince.
It was really incredible to see you positioned, at least in silhouette from my angle. It was sort of like a Miles Davis album cover. And the moment that you cleared your throat brought up so much in this sort of vulnerable space as we've come back from the pandemic. So it is about coming of age, but it is also about, oh no, the fragility of this moment where we've come out of this pandemic, and we've all been young, right? We've all been young. We've all been through this COVID. So the book itself, I felt, was such an interesting prop. The many pages of your book are dog-eared, like the rumpled bed sheets of like the Tracy Ellen, I can't remember, the woman who basically sold her bed, the Tate Modern. For millions of dollars, I don't know why, but there was this moment of vulnerability, which really, and this sort of purity in your voice. It's sort of like if you were to distill Colton from The Bachelor, who was a virgin, but then later came out as gay. If you were to distill his purity, like into a voice, it was so much yours, so pure, so real. I also want to say, like, I was reminded so much of when Billy Blanks, who invented Tybo, his son went on Shark Tank and was trying to push, and he was trying to break outside of his son, like outside of his father's shadow, and had his own workout thing. And all the sharks passed on this idea, except for Damon John, who later followed him into the hallway and had sort of this man-to-man, brother-to-brother moment with him, and said, you know what, I'm going to invest in your workout system. I was reminded of that in this. Really incredible work.
Thank you very much, Kristina, with performance. And now over to Zach for Intangibles for Prince.
Well, this is going to be really hard for me because I was mostly going to talk about Billy Blanks as well. But Prince, I loved how you came out here dancing and then just did this like emotional gut punch that was completely... I was so transfixed in your reading that I forgot to come up with any jokes. I thought it was beautiful, and when you were talking about trying to come up with a solution to the question that was about to be asked, as a disabled guy, I tend to relate because I've found that the only solution to being yourself is embracing yourself, right? And I was really moved by the story, by the writing. I'm also just, is that a vest? Yeah, because I can never know whether or not to wear, because the thing about wearing a sweater with no undershirt is how often do you wash it? But really, I thought like the whole love can give you wings thing, it's either love or Red Bull, and I think just... I feel like I'm closer to a Red Bull. And again, I really have to reevaluate my life because I want the type of experience and emotion that you are experiencing. And also, I want to be bold enough to wear those vests. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zach, with Intangibles. And now we come back to final judging of the night from Viet about Amelia Gray's.
Well, I mean, honestly, Amelia, the first couple of allusions that came to my mind were not literary. So when you said 2 minutes 30 seconds, I thought John Cage 4 minutes 33 seconds. But you beat John Cage, amazing. And then when you started singing, I was speechless actually at that point. But I thought Jack Black was the next reference that came to mind. But really, I thought this literary reading that you gave was, what if Liz Lemon was crossed with Charles Bukowski and gave a literary reading? There was a lot of shit, so no fucks, but a lot of shits going on, a lot of swans. And, when you said the swan is a metaphor for love, I thought, wow, it's going to be like Emily Dickinson. And then you started talking about swans shitting. It's like, no, it's not going to be like Emily Dickinson at all. I don't know. I mean, it's a bit, I just start with rabid bats and so on. I thought Flannery O'Connor. We have another kind of gothic tradition taking place here. Pond scum, all that kind of thing. More shit taking place. And then it didn't make any sense to me at a certain point, which is a good thing. And I thought, this is actually not a short story. This is not flash fiction in my mind. This is more like poetry. And I thought more about Allen Ginsberg, if you've listened to Howl, for example. The James Franco version of Howl, for example. So that was, it was more associative in that sense, which was also really powerful. And there's a lot of humor in what you were talking about, vulgarity, surrealism. And I had just actually listened to a book by the poet Patricia Lockwood. Oh, okay, we hit somebody in common, right? And I'm trying to remember the title of her book, because it's kind of sort of a long, complicated title, but it's something like "No One's Talking About This," I think is the title. And if you listen to the performance, it's sort of like this, I mean, it's dealing with some very tragic and surreal stuff, but there's also a lot of humor in there as well. So I think, frankly, being compared to Charles Bukowski, Liz Lemon, and Patricia Lockwood is actually pretty good. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Viet, with Literary Mirror. Now over to Kristina for performance for Amelia Gray.
So that song, that exorcism at the top, what a treat, because normally I have to wait till 3 a.m. at a bar to hear singing like that, and we got it right here at dinner time. I mean, I was getting Alien, I was getting Rosemary's Baby, like all the exorcism movies I got. And I really appreciate the hand gestures and just sort of the flow in which you're performing. It very much reminded me of like the rogue monologue of a Southwest stewardess, that just sort of, our plane's not gonna get hijacked, so might as well just make a few jokes. FAA doesn't check on Southwest or Spirit. We're not at risk. But very much, it felt like sort of the tonality and it reminded me, it could have been an extended monologue. If we could have followed this one character, Tiffany, from Rock of Love, season 1, when in the first episode, Brett Michaels' bodyguard, Big John, eliminates a bunch of the girls, and Tiffany's one of them. She's very drunk, and she says, "I don't care if there's not a bed. I'm going to stay here anyway." And then Big John says, "We don't have a bed for you." "I don't care. I'm going to stay." It sort of felt like this was Tiffany's extended monologue. She's infamous for the line, "Don't threaten me with a good time." And so I very much, that was coming to me. So thank you for not threatening me with a good time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kristina, with performance. And now, back to Zach for Amelia Gray's Intangibles.
I think you took Eddie Vedder and made it Eddie Better. Hey, man, they can't all be winners, all right? But I really, I look at this and I think, this isn't necessarily literature. It's more of an angry letter to a swan. And I love that you decided to, I'm in front of, 100 people. This is where I want to air this grievance. Because I agree with you 100%, fuck swans. I don't like them. They're that's the thing. An ugly duck turns into a swan and that's supposed to be some great thing. It's just like, I guess it's perfect because the ugly duckling turns into an asshole. Like all good-looking people, right? But I agree with you 100%. There was a lot of visceral shit talk, which, I guess that you really related to that somehow. And a duck bit my toe when I was a child, so I don't trust anything with beaks. So I thought it was seminal work, and I hope you work through your issues, really. I really hope you get to...
Thank you very much, Zach, with Intangibles. Now, once again, we'll cut the judges' mics so they can speak in private, but they're going to circle up and decide another impossible decision. Who will be the night's second finalist? And before I say another word, give it up for Prince and Amelia. Who knew? Everybody knew. This guy's going to attack me from behind. We had this whole thing planned. It's perfect for TikTok. I have a minute, so I want to tell you a little more about Hans Christian Andersen, because there's something pretty extraordinary. He was so famous, like he got to go to all the cool parties, right? And in 1847, what a year. He met Charles Dickens at a party, and Charles Dickens was his idol. And so he got his address, and he said, let's write letters, and Dickens was like, sure. And for 9 years, Hans Christian Andersen kept writing Dickens letters, and Dickens would write back ever so shorter and less polite. And then finally, Dickens wrote a letter and ended it with this: if you're ever in the neighborhood, stop by. Which is the fuck off of 1847, right? Well, at that time, 1856. Doesn't matter. And so Andersen was like, an invitation, baby, I'm coming. So he showed up at Dickens's house with a plan to stay for 2 weeks. Pretty long amount of time. He planned to stay for 2 weeks, and Dickens was like, oh man, it's just not a good time. I'm going through a really unsettling divorce. So and Andersen was like, not a problem. I'll be here and I'll make you feel better. And what Andersen did every morning that he woke up, he had Charles Dickens's son shave him. A Danish thing? I mean, I'm just like, if you read any Twitter about Sweden, you'll be like, maybe. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you really should, and I'll tell you later. Anyway, so the key part of this story is there was another time when Dickens, Andersen just kept hanging around, and Dickens got up to help a lady into the dining room, and Andersen jumped out of his seat and took Dickens' arm and went into the dining room with him instead. Just weird crap was going on. And he ended up staying 5 weeks. And when he left, somebody in the neighborhood was really excited. Hans Christian Andersen stayed. He went over and erected a sign in front of the house that said, Hans Christian Andersen stayed here. And Dickens' son put up another sign right below it that said, for too long. So good, so good. All right, now we're going to go back to our judges. Who's going to announce the night's second finalist? Is it going to be Zach? Okay, hold hands, everyone.
It was a very, very tough call. We really, on the one hand, the one person gave a very personal account that was emotionally almost uplifting and devastating at the same time. And then the other person sang Pearl Jam. So how do you really, and how do you compare those two? And we had a really, I mean, honestly, it was almost a toss-up. But then we thought, you know, this, it's so hard for me to say it, but should I just say it? Because we were able to draw more parallels between Rock of Love and The Bachelorette and this work. It's got to go to Prince.
Give it up for Prince Shakur, your night's second finalist. One more time for Amelia Gray. Now, both of you, stay seated, stay where you are. If we could get Chen Ho, our other finalist, and Rasheed to come out, is that possible? You know, maybe they're back. They're in the green room, just downing bottles of wine, possibly. I don't know what's going on. But I'll start explaining what's going to happen next. We're going to jump into the finale, and if you think about leaving, you're making a huge mistake, because we're going to play a vaguely literary game to decide the winner. And here's the game tonight. Now, like I said earlier, we've done 520. Give it up for Gene and Rasheed. Thank you for being here. So having done so many events, we've done a lot of things. Pin the mustache on Hemingway. We once played Stab a Hole in Nebraska. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it wasn't literary, but now we have a game that we're going to play tonight called Repeat After Me, which I'll explain shortly. But first, what we want to do is I want to get everybody on their proper team. So Gene and Prince, you are the two finalists. Gene, as you won round one, you get to pick anybody on this stage to be on your team. Who would you like to be on your team? Except me. Oh, wait, one more thing. I do need a volunteer from the audience. Yes, please, if you could make your way up. Perfect. What's your name? Austin, perfect. I'll remember that. Okay, so you can pick from anybody on this stage besides me. Austin is in play. Gene, who would you like?
I'm going to have to pick my pal Rasheed.
Rasheed is an excellent choice. Excellent choice. Now, Prince, we're doing a snake ladder draft. Which two people on this stage, Austin included, would you like to have on your team? Great choice. Excellent, excellent choice. So, okay, that's perfect. And now, Jane, you get to pick two people to be on your team from all the people on the stage that have not been picked yet. Who would you like? Thank you. There's Austin.
I have to pick
Zach.
two?
You get to pick two between Austin, Viet, and Zach.
You know what? I'm going to give it to Rasheed.
Okay. Rasheed, you are now the captain for the moment.
Okay.
You get to pick two people on the
I'm
stage.
going to pick Austin because he came up the stairs.
Fantastic. Austin, you're on the team. And are you going to pick between Viet and Zach?
What happens to the person I don't pick?
They're going to be on Prince's team.
Oh, okay, nobody's going to.
And they're going to be vengeful as fuck. Because they got picked last, and they're going to come back and burn you down. But that's fine. You get this pick, whatever you think.
I'm going to pick Zach because I think he could be more vengeful.
Great choice. All right, we're going to have
Once
Team Gene
more,
go to
pick
Zach's
last.
side of the stage. I know.
Bring
Viet
up
is going
all
to burn.
these playground memories.
Viet,
I've
if you
never
could come
not
over to
been
Team
picked
Prince,
before.
you're going to be over there. Zach, stay here.
Oh,
Actually,
what?
we're going to line you up
okay.
like this, so
Alright.
face the audience. I don't want you to see the screen. Nobody can look at the screen. And then all of you line up side by side. Same if you could stand up and line up side by side. So we're going to play a game called Repeat After Me. And how this is going to work, everybody pay vague attention. I am going to, we're going to have a Pulitzer Prize round to start. So I'm going to say the name of Pulitzer Prize winning authors. And then I'm going to go say to Austin, I'll say, okay, you get two names. And I'm going to say the full names, and he just has to repeat the last two names. And then I'll go to this team if he gets them right. And then we'll go until everybody, till we, it'll all make sense in a second. It's too hard to explain. Amelia, get in line. What's happening here? Okay. This will start making sense shortly. So, nobody can turn back and look at the screen. Now, because, Gene, you got to pick first, is that correct? Yeah, so we're gonna have you start. So these are the rules. I realize it doesn't matter. You have to win 2 rounds. Here we go. All right, these are Pulitzer Prize winners. So we're gonna start with you, Prince. You have to say these two names, just have to repeat the last name. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt.
Whitehead Tart.
Correct. Now, Austin, you're the first step for this team. You have to say 3 names. If you get it wrong, you'll be eliminated. Then we'll go to Gene, et cetera, et cetera. Why did I put Colton Whitehead? Well, he didn't win any Pulitzers, but Colson Whitehead, and I've read all his books, so even worse. But Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen.
Do I say just last name?
Just last name.
Whitehead Tart Nguyen.
Fantastic. Give it up for Austin. Woo! All right, now we go to you, Viet. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Jones.
Congratulations, you're still in it. All right, over to you, Gene. Now you have to say 5 names. They are Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, and Upton Sinclair.
Upton Sinclair, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Colson White.
You have to say them in the order I said them. I didn't say it, so I'm going to repeat them. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair.
Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair.
Holy shit, I didn't expect this to go this well. All right, now we're going over to Kristina, who also doesn't expect it to go this well. You have to say 6 names. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Jones, Sinclair, Lewis.
Holy crap! I can't believe how well this is going. All right, it's up to you, Rasheed, and a lot of confidence in his face. All right, Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Jones, Sinclair, Lewis. Jones?
No, it's Johnson. Okay, so now you step back. It's up to you, Zach. You now have to say it in this order. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson.
Whitehead, Tart, Quinn, Jones, Sinclair, Lewis. I want to say Beyonce?
No, that's incorrect. Okay, step back. Austin, you got this? You have to get all 8 of these. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Jones, Sinclair, Lewis, Johnson.
Holy shit, Austin, a ringer! A ringer! Over to you, Amelia, for you to get all 9. There's only 9. That's all. You got this. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson, Jhumpa Lahiri.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Jones, Sinclair, Lewis, Johnson, Balahari. Forgot the last one.
Almost did it.
Balahari, Balahari.
Paul Harvey is what you're saying, and that is incorrect. Okay, Amelia, if you could step back. Now we go to Prince. Prince, you got all 9. Do you want to just do it, or do I need to repeat them to you?
You gotta repeat them.
Okay. We've got Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson, Jhumpa Lahiri.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen. Lewis.
No, okay. Viet, are you feeling good? Okay, do you want me to repeat them, or you just...
No, I got this, okay. Whiteheart.
We're gonna let... No. We're gonna let... It's misspelled there. He could have a typo one. Okay, let's start up.
I knew the wine would catch up eventually. Okay. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt. Do I have to say my own name?
No.
Can I just say moi? Okay, yeah. Moi. Edward P. Jones. Sinclair Lewis.
He got it.
Johnson. Lahiri.
Holy shit. Okay. Now, it's down to you, Gene. You have to say all 9 of these. Plus, I'm going to add Eugenides, Chef Eugenides. So, Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson, Jhumpa Lahiri, and Jeffrey Eugenides.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Adam Johnson. No, wait, can I have another chance?
No. This is already going on way longer than I thought. But it'll speed up, trust me. Okay, Austin. No, Gene, you have to step back. Austin, it's on you. Either they get the first point or Team Gene does. Do you need me to repeat them? Okay. Colson Whitehead, Donna Tartt, Viet Thanh Nguyen, Edward P. Jones, Upton Sinclair, Sinclair Lewis, Adam Johnson, Jhumpa Lahiri, Jeffrey Eugenides. Say it.
Whitehead, Tart, Nguyen, Jones, Sinclair, Lewis, Johnston, Lahiri, Eugenides.
That's it. You won the point for Team Gene. All right, everybody up. We're moving on, Amelia. So here's how it's going to work in round 2. We're going to start with Team Gene. Gene, yep, she's just like, we're in the wine now. We're doing this. So the way it works in round 2 is I'm not going to repeat them. Oh, there was Annie Proulx. I forgot that Annie Proulx was up there. I threw Eugenides, didn't matter. Okay, this is Booker Prize winners. So I'm not going to repeat them every time, so you all have to listen closely. Okay. Zach, I'm going to start with you for fun, and then coming over to Amelia. All right, Booker Prize winners. That's a hint. Marlon James and Thomas Keneally, both literary deathmatch alums.
Marlon James and Thomas Keneally.
Correct. All right, over to you, Amelia. It's Marlon James, Thomas Keneally, and Hilary Mantel.
James Keneally Mantel.
Correct. All right, over to you, Rasheed. It's Marlon James, Thomas Keneally, Hilary Mantel, Salman Rushdie.
I only remember the last one. Because I started thinking, I was like, oh, Solomon Rushdie. Oh, that was horrible. He's so great. And then everything else went out of my head.
I just say, do you want to give it a shot?
You're not going to repeat it?
No. Not for anybody.
I'm just gonna say Solomon Rushdie.
That's so close, but incorrect. Gene.
I find this very Eurocentric. I'm also just going to say Salman Rushdie.
That's incorrect. Thank God you have the ringer, Austin.
James Keneally Mantel Rushdie.
There we go. Holy shit. Kristina. Marlon James, Thomas Keneally, Hilary Mantel, Salman Rushdie, Bernardine Evaristo.
Keneally.
Incorrect, but thank you. Okay. You were so close. Okay, now if you step back, Viet.
Okay, Marlon James, Thomas Keneally, Hilary Mantel, Salman Rushdie, Bernardine Evaristo.
Who was picked last? Viet? Burning it down. Okay. Yes, and the ringer. That's correct. Okay, are you ready for this?
Sure.
Marlon James, Thomas Keneally, Hilary Mantel, Salman Rushdie, Bernardine Evaristo, and Jan Martel.
I just gotta say, I love that the big finale of this show is, can you make a list? All right. James Keneally. I want to say Beyonce again. I don't know.
Incorrect. All right, Austin, can you save it for your team? I can't repeat it now. We're in the deep end now.
James Keneally Mantel Rushdie. I don't know how to say it. Forrestine or something like that. I don't know how to say it.
That's incorrect. It is now 1-1. As Team Gene was eliminated in that round, now everybody up. It's the finale. It's the grand finale you've all been waiting for that I thought would be here in like a minute. And it's taken 45 minutes to an hour. So here's where we are. You're like, well, we've done Booker. We've done Pulitzer. What's next? And I thought we would do, oh, there's Peter Carey and Daddy Roy. Nobel Prize winners. These are super easy, so it will go fast. I just want to say thank you to the Hammer. Thank you to Claudia for inviting us back. Thank you to such a great audience, to our 4 incredible authors, our 3 charming as all get out judges. Okay. Here we go. We're going to start. So you just want a point, so it's now 1-1. We're going to start here with Rasheed. I feel like this is a gentle thing to do. And we're just going to do one name at a time. And again, I might repeat them. Not yet. Bjornstjerne Bjornsson.
Bjornsson.
Correct. Bjornsson is correct. And now you are, okay. Viet, Bjornstjerne Bjornsson, Olga Tokarczuk.
Bjornsson Tokarczuk.
Correct. All right, we go to Eugene. Bjornstjerne Bjornsson, Olga Tokarczuk, Rudyard Kipling.
Bjornsson, Tokarczuk, Kipling.
Correct. Great work. Now we go over to the most confident person of this game I've ever seen. Christine, always counting on her hands. Okay, here we go. Bjornstjerne Bjornsson, Olga Tokarczuk, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore.
Bjornsson, Tokarczuk, Kipling, Tagore.
Good enough for me. All right, we're going over to you, Zach. Bjornstjerne Bjornsson, Bjornstjerne Bjornsson, Olga Tokarczuk, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore, Mo Yan.
Bjornsson, Tokarczuk, Kipling.
It's not Beyonce.
You're sure it's not Beyonce? Because I could have sworn that you said...
I'm sorry, no, Zach, you're incorrect. All right, over to Amelia. I'm not repeating them. Can you get them? What? Okay, I'll repeat them once. Bjornstjerne Bjornsson, Olga Tokarczuk, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore, and Mo Yan.
first one. Bjornson, Bjorchik, Chikarchek.
What are you saying? Start at the top.
Bjorngen, the origin, Chikarni.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. We go to you, Prince.
Bjornson, Tokarczak, Kipling, Bronson.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry. So Amelia and Prince, step back. Now we're over to you, Viet.
Bjornson, Charchuk, Kipling, Tagore, and Jan.
Correct enough for my taste. And now we go to you, Austin. You're going to have to say 6 names. It's Bjornstjerne Bjornson, Olga Tokarczak, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore, Mo Yan, and William Butler Yeats.
Bjornstjerne, Tokarczak, Kipling, Fornstern.
Oh, I can't believe Austin failed. I thought he had it forever. I'm sorry, Austin. That's incorrect. Fornstern is not one of the names. Rasheed, you got this.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to say them again for fun. Bjornstjerne Bjornson, Olga Tokarczak, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore, Mo Yan, and William Butler Yeats.
Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers danced on air. They had style, they had grace. You know, Rita Hayworth gave good things.
Give it up for Rasheed. Rasheed, if you can step back now. Are you still in play, Zach? Yes, you are. So you have 2.
I'm not.
You're not? Oh, no, you
I
missed.
was out a half an hour
That's
ago.
true. That's correct. So, Gene, I'm going to read them for you because you're the final bullet. Now, you still have how many players? Viet, you're still in the game. Is that correct? Okay, so it's you two against Gene. All right. Now, here's how it works. If Gene misses any of the names, Prince will be Literary Deathmatch champion. If she gets it right, the pressure is on, et cetera, et cetera. Here we go. Bjornstjerne Bjornson, Olga Tokarczak, Rudyard Kipling, Rabindranath Tagore, Mo Yan, William Butler Yeats.
Oh, no. Bjorn something.
I'll take it.
Okay. Tokarczak. Kipling? Yes. Mo Yan?
Ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer was Rabindranath Tagore. That means Prince Shakur is the Literary Deathmatch champion. You put it on that away. Holy crap, that was the quickest finale ever. All right. Gene, if I could have you step forward, you had an incredible team. You came on like a house of fire. You took down Rasheed Newson by the closest vote in the history of Literary Deathmatch. And now you stand before us as a finalist. Yeah, I can't speak anymore. What an amazing night. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. Thank you for having me.
Of course, give it up for Gene, Chen Ho, for Zach, Rasheed, and Austin. Prince, you're on book tour. This is your first book. You've already won 1 award, now 2. You stand before us as a Literary Deathmatch champion. What does this mean to your literary career?
I feel like I won a game of Scrabble because I usually lose Scrabble. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Give it up for Prince, Viet, Kristina, and Amelia. Once again, thank you to the Hammer. I think we have books for sale outside. I forgot to text somebody, but run out, hang out. Make sure you tell all these people you love them, buy all their books, and give them away as gifts for Christmas too. So buy 2 at a time, and just tell them how wonderful they are if you don't buy a book. And thank you so much for being here tonight. And finally, call your mother. She misses you. Thank you.